The Seattle Seahawks have done a few things over the past few days that are pretty interesting, pretty important, but for some ungodly reason, the Seattle Seahawks love doing these things as I am in school, so that's kind of unfortunate. I get this news of the Seahawks, trading for Sidney Jones, KJ Wright signs to the Raiders, oh, Ahkello Witherspoon got traded, and it's like, as soon as I'm walking into my classroom, I get this notification, and I'm like, Jesus, man, come on, can the Seahawks just wait until I'm home to do stuff? But, no matter how unfortunate it is, today we're going to be looking at all the stuff that I missed over the past few days. So number one, now I don't believe it's the most important thing because obviously it doesn't really affect the Seahawks much, but it is pretty sad and it still relates to the Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks have basically let KJ Wright go. KJ Wright signed to the Raiders a couple days ago, and the Seahawks really didn't do anything about it. Obviously, the Seahawks weren't looking to bring back KJ Wright, and I believe that's for two main reasons. Now, reason number one, I believe KJ Wright kind of priced himself off the team. Now, don't get me wrong, KJ Wright had a great year last year. He's had a great years the past few years, and he deserved to get paid, but the Seattle Seahawks, it's kind of a bad offseason for a veteran to be looking to get paid. The money situation from the Bovid season, and, it just was not the right time to look to get paid as a veteran. The Seahawks had to extend a couple people, Jamal Adams, obviously, Dwayne Brown, they're probably going to have to extend as well. So the Seahawks, they have their kind of money tied up in things that they know that they're going to have to do, and they really didn't have a lot of money going into this last offseason because of this season before and how everything worked out. So it was just kind of unfortunate circumstances between the team and KJ Wright, so he had to go. Definitely unfortunate. I think KJ Wright deserved to get paid. He just went into the wrong offseason. And I believe the second reason why the Seahawks kind of just let KJ Wright go is because they're trying to get younger at the linebacker position, which makes a lot of sense. You're a team that wants to try and continuously be good for the next few years, for a long time. You need to get younger at positions and bring in guys that can fill slots for the next few years or multiple years because, Bobby Wagner, he's going to be gone soon. However, you have Darrell Taylor, you have Jordan Brooks, you have Cody Barton who could get a couple snaps as well. And Bobby Wagner being in the middle there, and he can mentor all the people around him, get the young guys some in-game experience, let him get mentored by Bobby Wagner. That really is probably the best case scenario for the Seahawks. You get two guys around Bobby Wagner that are going to be young, good options who are going to be mentored by Bobby Wagner. They're obviously going to get better because of that. And then in a few years when Bobby Wagner inevitably retires because, age catches up to you as a defensive player especially, he's probably going to be retired from the league in a few years, unfortunately. Hopefully you have someone that can fill his spot, be it Jordan Brooks or someone else that you bring in that will be mentored behind Bobby Wagner for a couple years. I mean, the Seahawks, they seem like they're in a pretty good situation with their linebacker group right now. So hopefully it works out for the Seahawks when it comes to the linebacker group in the future. But reasons why KJ Wright didn't get brought back, kind of priced himself off the team. Seahawks want to get younger. Unfortunate situation between KJ and the team, but it just kind of happened. And the second interesting thing, and I believe somewhat surprising thing, was Ahkello Witherspoon ended up getting traded from the Seattle Seahawks to the Pittsburgh Steelers for, I believe, a 2023 fifth round pick, which isn't bad by any means. Now, I didn't really expect Ahkello Witherspoon to be traded. He was a guy that we brought in for 1 year, $4 million as a kind of, hey, let's see what he can do because we have absolutely no idea what we're doing at the corner spot right now. And it just didn't seem to work out. He came in, he was kind of that expected starter, and then he just kind of pissed the bed, didn't really do anything. He went from being the number 2 guy for the Seahawks to who knows what he's doing. Trey Flowers is possibly going to be a starter now. That's not really good news. So Ahkello Witherspoon, he kind of played himself off the team. The Seahawks traded him, got a 5th round pick for next year, not this year's draft. So, I mean, that's a decent value. We traded for Sidney Jones. We gave up a 6th round pick. We basically got the same value back. So basically we traded Sidney Jones for Ahkello Witherspoon. Not a bad move whatsoever. But there are some rumors that the Seahawks aren't actually done making moves to get corners because obviously there's still a lot of question marks when it comes to the corner group. The Seahawks really have no idea what's going on when it comes to the corners, it seems like. So they're probably going to be making a couple moves. I don't really believe that we're going to be able to trade for someone like a Stephon Gilmore, but it would be interesting if the Seahawks went and made a big move like that. I don't think we want to give up early round picks again because I don't think we want to keep on going into drafts with like 3 picks. And obviously the Patriots, they don't need running back. They have pretty solid running backs on their team. So trading a guy like, Alex Collins or Rashad Penny doesn't really seem like an option to kind of boost the chances of getting someone like a Stephon Gilmore. So I don't think that we'll get Stephon Gilmore, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks go after another guy that would be relatively cheap to get that could just come in and be a tryout guy, see what he can do. Hopefully he's good enough. But I think that'll be more on the veteran side, probably someone who's more like 28, 29, 30 years old that are just going to be a 1 year kind of bring in, hope to God they do good, and just add some veteran experience to the corner group that's pretty young right now. And now the final thing that I want to talk about is some of the roster stuff for the Seahawks. Obviously, when the 53-man roster for the Seahawks came out, there were some pretty big questions that people had. Why are the Seahawks keeping 3 quarterbacks? Why did we get rid of one of our 3 quarterbacks and immediately bring back another cornerback? Like, what are we doing? Why do we need 3 quarterbacks? We just have to pray to God that Russell Wilson doesn't get hurt. But I assume that we're not going to keep all 3 by the time the actual season starts. They're probably going to be either Geno Smith or whoever they brought in, Luke something, is going to win that backup quarterback spot, and then the other one's getting cut. But when it comes to the wide receivers, which was another question, like why did the Seahawks only have 4 wide receivers? It seems like it's because the practice squad rules are staying the same as they were from last season. I didn't think they would. That's why I was questioning it so much. But last season, the Seattle Seahawks, or any team in the NFL for that matter, was able to bring up 2 players from their practice squad to play on the active roster each week. So I assume the Seahawks are probably going to be doing this with at least 1 wide receiver, maybe 2 wide receivers each week, bringing them up. Kay Johnson, Penny Hart, Aaron Fuller, guys like that are on the practice squad, so the Seahawks could bring up 1 or 2 of those guys each week to be on the active roster for the game. So having 4 wide receivers on roster, I think that we're just kind of doing that because we know that those 4 guys are going to be the main 4 guys, and then we can bring up 2 guys each week and have a little bit more depth each week. I think it makes sense for the Seahawks. It makes a lot of sense for them to do that. I didn't know this rule was staying. I thought that was just more of a Bovid regulation for the whole thing, but it seems like it's here to stay, at least for a little bit longer. So it makes sense for what the Seahawks did now. I still think that we should definitely look to trade a running back, and by God, please cut one of the 3 quarterbacks that we have on roster, and the one not named Russell Wilson. But that's going to do it for the video. The Seahawks really didn't have too much going on this week other than trading Ahkello Witherspoon, which is a pretty big deal, I believe. KJ Wright, sad to see him go, but it was kind of really expected. And then the roster moves make a little bit more sense now that I've kind of seen that these practice squad rules are staying as they were from last season. I didn't think that was going to be the case, but that's going to do it for this video. Let me know down below in the comments what you think about all the stuff that happened in the past few days. Ahkello Witherspoon being gone, KJ Wright signing to the Raiders, kind of sad, and the whole, we kind of have figured out why the Seahawks did some of the moves that they did with the 53-man active roster. So like I said, let me know down below in the comments what you think about that. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and with that, I'd like to thank you for watching. Have a great day.